Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Bobby Sylvester with Mike Tagliere as always. You can follow us on Twitter at BobbyFantasyPro and at Mike Tagliere NFL. Tags, how's it going today?
Oh, dude, it's good. I mean, my day just got better. So I've been writing, obviously, but I just got offered a trade in a league. I have so many running backs. It's like running backs galore, all right? I have Le'Veon Bell coming back. I had James Conner on this roster, so it wasn't like the biggest issue. I just traded Kareem Hunt and Corey Davis for Antonio Brown, and I'm excited.
I mean, that's a decent trade, except when you have a team like yours, then it's just like you're getting Antonio Brown for free, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kareem Hunt was like, I'm not going to say he was going to the bench or anything like that, but I have Alvin Kamara, Sony Michel, Le'Veon Bell, Carlos Hyde. Like, it's just...
You're going to be fine.
I'm excited, man.
Our guest today is Mike Wright of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. And Mike, you guys have another podcast now, too, called the Spitballers Podcast. And anyone who listens to the show knows I'm just a big party pooper. I mean, I don't like touchdown celebrations or comedy movies or frankly anything to do with pop culture. But I've got to say, you guys have me rolling every single episode.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for bringing it up. Spitballers Podcast. It's our 1 hour break. It's an hour of nonsense that we think everyone needs, and it comes out on Monday morning. So it's the perfect thing to wash down a fantasy loss, or you celebrate a fantasy victory. Just have a good time, you know. Oh, the one thing we have heard: don't listen to the pod while you are at the gym, though. I've heard we've almost injured quite a few people.
So, guys, we don't have much in the way of news to talk about today, but before we jump over to the start-sit portion of the show, I wanted to answer 3 questions that I've been seeing just a ton this week. First of all, LeSean McCoy might get traded to the Eagles. Now, Mike, if he does, who's going to be the primary running back in Buffalo, and what's LeSean McCoy's role going to be?
Sure, in Buffalo, I'm going to go with Chris Ivory. I know that Murphy's got some juice, but I would just assume that it'll be mostly Chris Ivory, and they'll split some time. We talked about this on the Footballers, though, today. It's interesting because everyone was super hyped last year when Jay Ajayi was freed from the shackles of the Miami Dolphins, because here he goes to Philadelphia, great offensive line, great offense. He's free. He's going to be used a ton. He's going to score a bunch of fantasy points, and it was a pretty big letdown for those who had Jay Ajayi or even made the move to get Jay Ajayi, hoping that things were going to come. So our discussion on the show today was LeSean McCoy is everything. He is the Buffalo Bills offense. You can see that he's healthy, 100 yards from scrimmage last week. He just hasn't had a chance this year, right? It was terrible week 1, then he got hurt. So now I think Shady's kind of rounding into form. He's going to get that volume that you hope for in Buffalo, but the team's not very good, especially on the offense. But if he goes to Philadelphia, does he automatically become a 75% snap guy? I don't think that he does. I think that Doug Peterson will continue to use his running back by committee. Shady should jump to the top. I mean, theoretically, he should jump to the top, but you would have thought Jay Ajayi would have done that as well. I think Shady's a better running back than Jay Ajayi, so I believe he does shoot to the top. But now are you talking he's getting 50% of the snaps, and you still have to worry about Corey Clement siphoning off red zone work? I think it's almost a bit of a wash if he does, in fact, go to Philadelphia, because his touches will be more valuable, but he's going to get far fewer of them than fantasy players hope.
Agree. Tags, I think just like last year, if he was to get traded to Philadelphia, it would be the easiest sell high ever.
Well, I don't know. I was with you on Jay Ajayi last year in terms of like when he went there and the value skyrocketed for everyone. But McCoy, I'm on a different like bandwidth here. I think McCoy would. I think if they traded for McCoy, I think he actually walks into. I do think he plays at least half the snaps, and that's something that hasn't happened with Doug Peterson. But like when you look at the landscape around running backs, like you want someone tied to a great offensive line, which Philadelphia has. You want someone tied to a great offense, which obviously Doug Peterson knows how to run. And like Corey Clement, are you really going to take LeSean McCoy, one of the best receiving backs off the field, for someone like Wendell Smallwood? I don't think so.
Darren Sproles is coming back, man. Darren Sproles always plays.
But Sproles has now been out for 4 weeks? Like the guy's still not practicing. I don't know if he plays again. Like Darren Sproles just seems like there's something that's not right. Something's not healing because a hamstring doesn't take this long to recover from.
Ask Danny Woodhead about that.
You should ask Danny Woodhead. But seriously, like answer this question, guys. If he goes to the Eagles, who would you rather have on your fantasy team? Him or David Johnson? Him or Marshawn Lynch? I'll take LeSean McCoy.
Oh, you serious, man? Oh, not even close for me. I would take McCoy third out of those 3.
I think I would take him second. I'll still hold on. I'm going to just grasp onto the straws of that as David Johnson. I mean, it's falling apart in our hands. But, I mean, like, Shady, I don't think he'll have goal line work. I agree that he should get the pass and downs work, but he's not going to see 24 carries like he saw this past week. It'll be a really, really interesting situation. If his value does skyrocket, I'm okay trading him. I guess off the top of my head, I can't even think of a player who you would pivot from Shady McCoy to in a sell high option.
So we have 3 entirely different opinions. So we didn't solve anything here.
Perfect.
Yeah. One thing I would love to see, though, I doubt this is going to happen, but Carlos Williams just filed his reinstatement paperwork with the NFL.
Oh no, we're not doing that.
I want to see Carlos go back to Buffalo, baby. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Oh,
It's like Christine Michael all over again.
Hey, don't you ever besmirch the name of Christine Michael in my presence.
You guys have gone on a totally separate track. We're talking about 2 players that have not been fantasy relevant in like forever.
Let's go to the next one that I've been getting a ton of. Alvin Kamara's trade value. Some people have been saying, oh man, I got to trade him. What should I take for him? And some people are saying, like, I should go out and get this guy, right? Yeah, I think yes. What do you think, Mike?
Absolutely. We talked about on our show yesterday, Mike. If you had David Johnson, go talk to the Alvin Kamara owner. Sell high off of that big performance, the multi-touchdown, even though it's the touches and everything, it didn't equate to the fantasy output that he really got. Alvin Kamara's on his bye week. Someone's going to be really pissed off that he only got, 9 touches in the return of Mark Ingram to that offense. Go see if you can turn David Johnson into Kamara. And my timeline was full of people who said, I was able to do this. And I said, good work, everybody. Because I would sell David Johnson for Alvin Kamara right now if I could.
In a heartbeat. I've got him at number 4 rest of the season. For running backs, Tags, where do you have him?
Alvin Kamara, I have at number 5 running back. The only running backs I'd rather have than him are Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Saquon Barkley, and Ezekiel Elliott. Outside of them, like, there's nobody else I'd rather own.
So he's still just that top tier for you.
He's still absolutely there. And that's the thing is, like, I posted something on Twitter last week highlighting the performances between Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. And I said that for people that think that it's not possible for both these guys to be, top tier running backs, you're wrong, because I went through it. And Alvin Kamara, there was just 1 week last year, once Adrian Peterson left the team, where he wasn't a top 15 running back. I think this was very circumstantial, where it's like, he had been handling a bigger workload. I think he had 19 carries the week before that. They had been using him a lot. Drew Brees was setting a record. They were obviously going to have him throw a little bit more than usual, like in celebration of that. Mark Ingram had fresh legs. They were going into the bye. There were just so many factors that led to this. Alvin Kamara is absolutely a buy low, and I would rather have him than Mark Ingram.
You guys think I can trade Mark Ingram for Alvin Kamara right now?
Probably.
I'm going to go for it. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
In some leagues, you probably could.
It just goes to the recency bias, that start of the year, where the start of the year, that's what a guy is going to do for the rest of the season. We all have this problem when someone explodes the first few weeks, and you saw the workload for Alvin Kamara, and you thought, yeah, this is sustainable. This is going to last the whole year. I don't care if Mark Ingram's coming back. And then it was just an absolute bucket of cold water. So people are reeling from that, and you got to take advantage.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, number 3 here is Doug Baldwin. His trade value, what do we do with him? Like, some people have been saying, should I drop him? No, of course not drop him. But is this a case where you can sell, and it seems like you're selling low, but you're actually selling high because his value is just not going to get anywhere near what it actually is right now in the trade market?
I would try to sell him if I could. This offense has completely shifted into the Schottenheimer. He has completed his transformation, and it's working. That's the problem for Russell Wilson and the pass catchers. The running backs are actually getting it done. Chris Carson, and now that you have the combination of Chris Carson and Mike Davis, I know we're small sample, of course, but I think that they're both competent running backs. Chris Carson, the way that he runs, you can't give him the high 20s in total touches every single week because he's going to break down his body. The same can be said for Mike Davis. But now you have melded them together, and you have a strong running game. And this is transformed. Russell Wilson, he carries the ball, or he's an excellent scrambler. He's not getting an opportunity to scramble when he only throws the ball 21 times a game. And Doug Baldwin is the red zone monster. I would try to sell Doug Baldwin if I could, and I don't know that you can get a lot on the remaining name value of Doug Baldwin, especially because he came into the season with the injury, hasn't produced. But if I can include him as a second piece in a trade and do a 2-for-1 to upgrade a position, I would be willing to do it.
Tags, I'm still holding on to him, man. I can't give up quite yet. Maybe after 1 or 2 more bad weeks, and then it'll probably be too late. But where do you stand?
Well, I mean, if I can sell Tyler Lockett and get Doug Baldwin right now, I'm doing that. If I can sell someone like Demaryius Thomas, I would trade Demaryius Thomas for Doug Baldwin. And the thing is like, Doug Baldwin, here's the thing. I understand what Mike's saying, and there's a lot of concerns like when you look at the actual production over the last 2 games, especially when, he played a lot of snaps against Arizona, and that's a matchup you should destroy. Like, it should have been targeted a lot more, but obviously Schottenheimer, he's still figuring things out, and we didn't even see the run game come to life until, week 4, was it? Week 3, week 4. But Doug Baldwin, I went back and I made it a point to watch that game again. I went back to Game Pass and watched that one, and Doug Baldwin was getting open. And the thing is like, even on the second David Moore touchdown, Doug Baldwin was wide open down the left sideline, and he had his hand up in the air like I'm open. The play wasn't designed to go to him, but at the same time, he had shook his defender. He looks fine out there. Do we think that David Moore is going to catch multiple touchdown passes going forward?
I like David Moore, but no.
That's what I'm saying. Like, do we think that Tyler Lockett's going to continue to catch a touchdown every game? I don't. So it's like everything will eventually shift. They don't have a tight end that plays a big role. It's not every week where Russell Wilson's going to throw 21 times. Their defense is going to allow a lot of points because they've lost a lot of parts. So I'm not panicking. Like, if you can get Doug Baldwin for cheap right now, if you could buy him, if you could sell Sterling Shepard for him, I would do that. And I like Shepard. But that's the thing. Those are the players right now that you're able to trade away and get Doug Baldwin in return, who has it's not like, he's had one good season where it's like we're buying him. Oh, we're living on last year's stats. He's had 3 years of top 15 production. Like, he's playing with the same quarterback. I think that it's just been kind of like a bad stretch of games for him, and I think he will pop out of it.
Agree. All right, guys, on to Start Sit, but first I want to talk about one of the sponsors of today's show, Lisa Mattresses. Guys, a quality night's sleep helps you recover from distractions faster, prevents burnouts, make better decisions, improve your memory, and overall just make fewer mistakes. It's not marketing, it's just science. To design a better mattress, Lisa leveraged 30-plus years of experience and hundreds of hours of testing to develop the perfect mattress for all body shapes and sleeping styles. Lisa's mission is to provide a better night's sleep for everybody, and through their 110 program, they donate 1 mattress for every 10 they sell. That's more than 26,000 mattresses and counting. Lisa strives to leave the world a better place than they found it, but it doesn't stop with mattress donations. Together with the Arbor Day Foundation, Lisa plants 1 tree for every mattress they sell, and they're committed to planting 1 million trees by 2025. Don't miss these fall savings. Get $160 off a Lisa mattress at lisa.com/fantasypros. That's LEESA.com/fantasypros. All right, guys, so we're going to go start sit now, and that's going to carry us through the rest of the show. We're going to go one position at a time. Now, obviously, you're going to start Pat Mahomes and all these guys, Aaron Rodgers, but, it's the guys who are kind of on the fringe, like that QB 8 to QB 15 range, and maybe we'll share one guy who's a streamer outside the top 15 in case you're desperate. So why don't we get right to it with Jameis Winston, who Tags and I know believe is a great streamer. Tags said he has him in his top 5 yesterday in our live stream. I've got him number 7 right now. Mike, where do you have him?
Heck yeah, man. It's Jameis Winston time.
Yeah, baby.
The dude was an absolute yardage monster last year, and he is surrounded by incredible weapons. So this is, hopefully we get the Patrick Mahomes effect. I know it was tough sledding 2 weeks ago when he was just thrown in. He wasn't prepared to be the starter, but surrounded by an elite deep threat who, in Deshaun Jackson, he's still got it. Chris Godwin's emerging. You don't have to say anything about Mike Evans. And Cameron Brate, who has launched himself into becoming an excellent start this week. He's a touchdown machine with Jameis Winston. So you are right. By the end of the week, by Sunday morning, he will absolutely be at least a top 7 option for me. Won't surprise me if he sneaks into my top 5.
Yep, sounds good to me. I mean, this is a perfect streaming matchup coming off the bye. We saw what Fitzpatrick did with all these weapons. Tags, you obviously don't even need to talk about Winston because you're just in love with him this week. I think he can be a long-term option too, but let's turn to somebody with a more difficult matchup. Denver's defense isn't as good as the past, but, they're still top half of the league. Jared Goff gets them at Denver, which is a tough place to play. Is he a starter for you?
I don't know why people are scared of Denver anymore. Honestly, like that defense, like all they have is a pass rush. And if their pass rush doesn't get there, their secondary's been atrocious. Their run defense has even been letting them down. And that's something that they've always been able to fall back on, that they've been able to stop the run. But they haven't even done that recently. You look at Isaiah Crowell and Bilal Powell going off last week. The week before that, it was Kareem Hunt finishing as the top 8 running back. You know, like we've seen 3 quarterbacks finish top 15 against them already this year. And this is something like that goes back into last year. I want to say that the Broncos allowed the most passing touchdowns in the NFL last year. And it was very quietly done because the yardage wasn't there and quarterbacks weren't necessarily scoring a whole bunch of fantasy points against them. But it was a good matchup like for most of the year. So I think Jared Goff, it really comes down to his weapons. Like if he doesn't have Brandon Cooks, if he doesn't have Cooper Kupp, that's a problem because these guys are all who make the offense go round and round. And I'm not sure that Josh Reynolds.
I don't know if that's true though, man, because he's still got Robert Woods and he's got Todd Gurley. I think he can use Josh Reynolds. It's Sean McVay's offense. Jared Goff looks as good as Carson Wentz did last year. This is a legitimate MVP candidate. I'm starting him every week.
I know, but I don't think we can underestimate how good Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks are. Like they changed the offense though. That's the thing. That's the reason they went out and got these players. Like Cooper Kupp, not many people liked him coming out of the draft. I remember it was like the cool thing for people to say, Cooper Kupp, I could have a better combine than he did. And then it's like, you know, I kind of laughed about it. And to see him land with this offense, he was suited perfectly for it. Brandon Cooks has always been like a versatile weapon. And if you look at Denver, I can't remember who it was, but someone on Twitter today, they have behind a wall of data that they have basically saying that the Broncos have allowed more plays down the field than any other team, like on 20 plus yard plays. And I think we saw that last week with Robbie Anderson. So it's like,
sorry, we saw the resurgence of Robbie Anderson. He was done. He was on the waiver wire. Robbie Anderson, we had the wake. It was done. The fantasy value of Robbie Anderson was absolutely kaput. Sam Darnold refused to throw it deep. And apparently the solution to that was play against the Denver Broncos because Sam Darnold decided that was a good idea multiple times.
Yeah, he did.
So I'm not scared of the Broncos. I agree with you, Tags, that it would be a hit to Jared Goff losing just one of those. But if both of those pieces are out, Jared Goff becomes questionable. But maybe we finally get to see what Gerald Everett can do in this offense if Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks are out. So that's the it's not really icing. It's the calorie-friendly version of the cake. It's not as good, but maybe you'll eat it anyways. I would love to see what Gerald Everett could do if actually being unleashed in this offense.
And I should note too that it seems like Adam Jones, one of their starting cornerbacks for the Broncos, is not going to play. He had a leg injury. It doesn't seem like he's going to play this week, so that would only help the matchup. Bradley Roby, he's not stepped up and been the number one cornerback that some people thought he would be.
All right, Mike. Andy Dalton is also a streamer. Actually, he's owned in most leagues, but do you have him in your top 10 like I do?
Man, Andy Dalton. It's been great. It's been great to see because I'm sure you guys like us. I don't want to put words in your mouth. We had to eat a big old fresh pie of crow last year as we hyped up Andy Dalton and said he's gonna bounce back. Positive regression for his touchdown rate.
So like us with Isaiah Crowell.
Sure, exactly. I was very in on Andy Dalton last year. They shored up the offensive line a little bit, and now Andy Dalton is doing what we thought he was going to do this past season, which is be a very competent quarterback, be really solid for fantasy football. The only thing that scares me for Andy Dalton is it's divisional. The divisional thing, I know it's whatever. It's a cheap narrative to go by, but I believe in the divisional thing. The weird things happen because if this is any other quarterback going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're doing backflips. You're so excited to start this guy because the Steelers defense, they're just giving away points for free. This is what they've been doing for the majority of the season. I'm still going to play Andy Dalton. I'm not sure if he'll end up in my top 10, but if he's not there, he's still in that 10 to 12 range where he's a QB1. So you are starting Andy Dalton this week.
He lit up the Ravens earlier this season. Now, granted, it was without Jimmy Smith, but, I mean, Tags, would you rather start Andy Dalton than somebody like Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck this week?
Maybe over Luck, depending on if Hilton plays or not. That hinges a lot for me.
Hilton's going to be out, man.
Yeah, it seems like he might be out, but like I would play Russell Wilson, I think, over Dalton. Like, so the thing is with Dalton, I looked at it, the last 2 times he's played the Steelers while they were at home, which he will be this week, he's totaled just 391 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interceptions in the 2 games combined. So it's not like the Steelers have been like a shutdown defense as of late.
Yeah, this is a much different defense than he's played in the past.
The thing is, they did change things last week, and it kind of went overlooked. And it was something that I noticed when I went back and watched the game again, is that Julio Jones, they had Joe Hayden shadowing Julio Jones for the majority of the game, and that changed the complexity of the defense because they weren't running so much zone. It was a lot of man coverage, and that's something that the Steelers really haven't done. And here's the reason I'm worried about Dalton. Joe Hayden, I've gone through A.J. Green's career against Joe Hayden, and it's been awful. So here's his last 6 games he's played against Hayden. 3 catches, 41 yards. 4 catches, 53 yards. 3 catches, 23 yards. 5 catches, 49 yards. 7 catches, 51 yards. 2 catches, 7 yards. He did not score a touchdown in any of those games. None of them. So if A.J. Green is shadowed by Joe Hayden, which I'm not saying Green can't win that matchup, but history has said that he's definitely not going to go off. And then you look at the rest of them and you're like, okay, Tyler Boyd's going to be matched up with Mike Hilton, who's one of the better slot corners in the game. It's like if John Ross is out, Tyler Eifert is on IR. There's just so many things with this offense that I'm a little worried about. So I just think it's a divisional game. Ben Roethlisberger's not going to stack up points on the road. He never does. So I just think it's going to be a lower scoring game than people think. And Dalton might be fine. I have him at 14, but I'm a little worried about his ceiling this week.
I've got him at number 10. I just think the Steelers are that bad. I mean, there's so much separation. Every single time I watch the game film, I'm like, how are these guys getting that open? Is Pittsburgh actually trying? I don't know. I mean, the divisional matchup does have some, I think there's something to that argument, absolutely, but I just can't get past how bad this defense has been.
If it was in Pittsburgh, I'd be about it.
Yeah, so a couple more on the fringe here, and let's just rank these 3, okay? Big Ben, Carson Wentz at the Giants, and then Phillip Rivers at Cleveland, who's been so much better. So Big Ben, Wentz, and Rivers. Mike, we'll let you go first.
Okay, we got Big Ben, Carson Wentz, and Phillip Rivers. I'm going to stick with Ben. I'm going to go in the order. Ben, Wentz, Rivers is how I would rank them.
That's why I have them too. Tags, are you with us?
That's exactly how I have them. They're all in the same exact spot, though. Like, legitimately, I have Russell Wilson in between Roethlisberger and Wentz, but they're all close.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're really desperate, I mean, seriously, I know Blake Bortles was horrible last week, but he was good in fantasy. Do you go with Blake Bortles at Dallas, or Baker Mayfield face the Chargers at home, maybe Alex Smith against Carolina?
Baker.
Oh, is it Baker season?
It's Baker season, baby.
Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree.
The Chargers defense hasn't been that impressive, but I think it's Blake Bortles again with Fournette out.
Not doing that to myself.
Why not? If you did it last week, it worked out for you.
As long as you didn't watch.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man. It's just, I worry about the plays in that game. Like, I just feel like it's going to be a very slow-moving game. Like, it's not a game that you're going to want to watch anyways. Dallas has limited the big play, so Bortles will have to do it continually over and over. I don't know. I don't like it very much. It seems like he's going to be down to his third-string left tackle, which is not great at all, obviously. I mean, looking at Dallas, they haven't allowed any massive games to quarterbacks, and they've played some pretty good ones. I mean, they've played Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson, and only one of those guys finished as a top 12 quarterback, so it's not like a great matchup. Baker going against LA. I mean, last week we were kind of let down by the Raiders offense. They just didn't play. Like, Derek Carr looked like, well, bad version of Derek Carr.
He looked like Derek Carr.
Yeah, I mean, but before that, the Chargers had been involved in at least 51-point games for the first 4 weeks, so Joey Bosa's not back. Baker Mayfield has looked better every single week. His top receiver has the best matchup on the field in the slot. So I like Baker. I would actually probably start Eli Manning over Blake Bortles.
Oh!
Let me ask you a question, Tags, okay? Who has more passing yards this year? Is it Patrick Mahomes or Blake Bortles?
I'm guessing it's going to be Bortles with the way you set up the question.
It's Blake Bortles.
Who's got more touchdowns?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about touchdowns or interceptions. I'm just saying Blake Bortles has been a lot better than he actually looks. I mean, in terms of fantasy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
As always.
Well, CJ Beathard has scored at least 17 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks, and he's not been good. That's what I'm saying. Like, fantasy is a different game, and that's what we're playing out here, obviously. We're trying to give fantasy advice, but that's why I'm saying just to keep in mind that the Dallas matchup isn't a great one in terms of, like, ceiling.
Okay, guys, so we're going to move on to running back here in a second, but first I want to tell you about this game that FanDuel has going on. So I didn't realize this, but they are giving away $1 million in one contest on a Thursday contest. It's just one game. Philadelphia at the Giants. You pick 5 players from this game, and one of them is your MVP, so he gets 1.5 times the points. There's tons of strategy in this. FanDuel's always rolling out new games like this. If you haven't checked out FanDuel, go to FanDuel.com. They've got contests for everyone, beginners, high rollers, whatever you want to do, all kinds of different strategy. Check out their games, and especially this Thursday $1,000,000 that I'm going to be involved in. I'm going to win the top prize, but you can go for second. All right, guys, so the running back position, a lot of people are asking, is TJ Yeldon a start? Absolutely. James White? Absolutely. But let's get beyond those guys, okay, because we don't need to talk about them. Like, Yeldon and White are in everyone's top 15 this week, at least the experts. Chris Carson, what do we do here? Because Mike Davis is playing well, too. They can't keep doing this, can they?
Yes.
I think they're going to. Because they're going to run the ball 30 times. And Oakland has a horrible linebacker core. So, I mean, I've got Carson in my top 20, but I don't know how long this is going to last.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how long it's going to last because it's going to go through at least this week, and then we'll reevaluate. Yeah, Chris Carson is an absolute fine start. I'm even fine starting Mike Davis as a running back 3 or a flex option. I believe so little in the Oakland Raiders and what they are doing as they continue their search for the. You cannot find a pass rush. Where would you find a pass rush in Oakland? Where would you find one, guys?
That's a good question.
And Gruden's looking for one. Someday he'll find one. I believe in you, John Gruden. But for the running back position, I like Chris Carson a lot this week. My Rashad Penny dreams are crushed, but in the wake of my ashes, Chris Carson has arisen, and he's a fantasy asset.
I will gladly buy Rashad Penny in dynasty leagues, but right now you can drop him in redraft leagues. He's not playing this year.
I agree.
Yeah, no, Chris Carson's a good play this week. I mean, I always worry about like London games because if you guys didn't realize this game is in London, it's like the first London game of the year, which sucks. But the thing is, it's weird because they're having it played at normal time. So this one. Next week, it's going to be one of those morning ones, but this week it's going to be at normal time. It's going to start at 1 Eastern time. So I always worry about that because there's a lot of like variables that are involved in those games. But the reason I do like Carson is because like obviously they're trying to run the ball more recently. They're trying to hide the deficiencies on defense. And as you mentioned, the Raiders have allowed 3 100-yard rushing games through 5 games. So the big part of that is because they have an entirely new front seven. Like legitimately the only player on there is that's there from like years past is Bruce Irvin, and they're saying that they're going to cut him at some point or trade him or do whatever because he's been terrible and he's showing no effort. But that front seven has no continuity. Nothing is working. And I mean, if they continually pound the ball, if they run the ball 35 times like they have over the last 3 weeks, like that's their average over the last 3 weeks, they're going to get it done against the Raiders. So I have Carson as a low end RB2 this week. And I'd say Mike Davis is more of like an RB4, but I have no issue if you wanted to play him. Like, here's a question for you. Would you rather start Mike Davis or Kyle Juszczyk in PPR formats?
Ooh, that's a very interesting question. The PPR.
In PPR, it's really close. In standard, it's not close.
I'd go Juszczyk.
Yeah, in PPR, I would probably go Juszczyk as well. But Bobby's right. If you're talking standard, then it's Mike Davis.
Yeah, I've got Mike Davis 37 for running back. So, I mean, you could start him in the flex and I wouldn't feel bad about it. But I'm not, jumping out of the seat to play him. I've got Chris Carson in my top 20 at number 19. Now, tags, Isaiah Crowell's getting some love this week. His ECR is number 18. Do you have him as an RB2 as well?
So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to, like, apologize or anything to anybody because I'm not. But no, but seriously, we were obviously wrong on Isaiah Crowell in terms of he looks better than like I think I've ever seen him in his career. Like he looks faster than he ever has. Like before, like when he was in Cleveland, I saw him like caught from behind by linebackers a lot. But now it's like he's getting into the open field and nobody can catch him, and he's showing a burst.
It's not like he's really. I don't know. He's running through holes. I watched the game last week. Bilal Powell still looks better. I think it's going to be a full running back split.
Yeah, I still like Powell, but the thing, and it is going to be a split, and that's maybe why Crowell looks better because he's not in this workhorse role and he's getting some time off on the sidelines. He might be better in that role. But here's the thing. If he doesn't score, like Isaiah Crowell has been a bust, all right? And the thing is looking at the Colts, you have to look at the injuries because Darius Leonard was out last week. He's their stud inside linebacker who's been phenomenal against the run this year. With him in the lineup, they've played a lot better. But with him missing last week, obviously you saw Sony Michel just wear that defense out, and he eventually broke a long one for a touchdown. But the Colts have only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns on the year. I don't know if I love Crowell. I mean, I have him at...
He's got 3 games with 35 yards, 34 yards, 0 yards, and then besides that, 102, 219.
Exactly. He's like the Amari Cooper of running backs. So, I mean, and I love Amari Cooper, so what does that say about me? Isaiah Crowell, I have it as my number 21 running back this week, so I have him in RB2 range.
Yep, I'm starting him this week, and Adrian Peterson's going to kind of depend on the injury and everything like that. Now, Aaron Jones hasn't fully taken over. He's clearly by far the best back there. And not only that, he's been really good at pass blocking as well. He gets San Francisco. I've got him as an RB2. Mike, are you with me?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm with you on everything else about Aaron Jones.
Mike McCarthy's just a big jerk, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not one of my favorite people. As fantasy analysts, we can say that about almost every offensive coordinator. We hate them all if they're not named Sean McVay. But I love Aaron Jones. I want to get him on my team. I'm going to believe the Packers will do the right thing by the second half of the season. But I'm not playing Aaron Jones just yet. The nasty 3-headed committee. And if Aaron Jones is going to come through, it's because he popped up a big play. I'm not the fantasy player that likes to play that type of a running back where I'm expecting a huge play. If they get to the goal line, who's going to run it in? Oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to throw it. That's what's going to happen. So I would not have him in my top 24.
It's a little bit ugly this week after him. Like, Tags, would you rather start Philip Lindsay against the Rams, Tevin Coleman against the Bucks, Alex Collins against Tennessee's run defense?
Yeah, none of those options are great, but yeah, I'd probably play them over Jones. Like, Jones he's in a weird spot. Like, the thing is, like, he has a season high of 11 carries. Like, it's not like he's gone off. And like looking at the 49ers, what they've done, like Fred Warner, their rookie linebacker, has been awesome. And I remember talking with Clinton, one of our producers, he's a 49ers guy. And I told him I liked Warner and I thought that was one of their better picks in the draft. And he's been great alongside Reuben Foster. And they've been able to hold opposing running backs to just 3.76 yards per carry. They've allowed 4 rushing touchdowns over the last 3 weeks, and I know that people are going to point that out, but I also want to mention that they were all goal line plunges. Like, David Johnson's were on the goal line, and then you go back to Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt did nothing outside of those 2 touchdowns, the goal line plunges against them, so I don't think they're bad against the run. I really don't. I think that secondary can be abused. Like, the way that game's going to shape up is that when Aaron Rodgers played against Richard Sherman while he played in Seattle, they legitimately took their least targeted wide receiver and said, just go stand by Richard Sherman over there and we're not going to look at you all game. And that's exactly what they did. That's what they're going to do at Devontae Adams. So they're going to match him up with Akello Witherspoon, and it's going to be nasty. Like, there's no way that he's going to stop Devontae Adams. So I just think that Rodgers is going to do what he wants. There should be volume here for Jones and Jamal Williams to, combine for some numbers, but I'm not willing to jump out and say that Aaron Jones is like a must start yet.
Now, Alfred Morris is a must start, obviously, if Matt Breida is out.
Like, Matt Breida is not playing this week. So they promoted someone from the practice squad. They brought in like 4 running backs today, including Charkandrick West.
So this might be a long-term thing.
It's going to be at least a week. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, it's at least a week, and then we'll see him go down in what appears to be another season-ending injury in about 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
This guy, what has happened?
Where's Joe Williams when you need him?
Stop. No, Joe Williams.
Oh, my God.
Burita, I like the guy. I think he's a good player. But,
yes.
I mean, come on.
Lamar Miller's been a disappointment, guys, but this Buffalo run defense is putrid. Do you play Lamar Miller, Tags?
I do.
Ooh, I do not.
Really? So the thing is, it's tough to find a running back who's going to get as much work. And you saw Alfred Blue, what he did last week. The reason that I like Lamar Miller a little bit more this week is because even if he can't get it done on the ground, which, I mean, Buffalo's been better the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to say that they haven't, but they can't get it done. You have to look at the options around him. It's like you have to think DeAndre Hopkins is not going to see 15 targets this week against Tre'Davious White. Kiki QT is going to receive a little bit more attention now. Will Fuller is obviously a player, but Buffalo's secondary has done a good job. They have a good safety duo. So I feel like it could be a check down week for Lamar Miller. I think like the Buffalo is going to bring the pressure on Deshaun Watson, and there's going to be some check downs to Lamar Miller. So I have him as like a low end RB2. I would consider playing him over someone like Adrian Peterson. I would play him over Alfred Morris. I thought people would be starting Lamar Miller. Mike, you sound like you're saying stay away.
Well, I'm with you. It's hard to find a running back, so not everyone has this luxurious team that you were talking about where you have all the top 10 running backs on your bench. So you might be in a position where you have to play him. But I highlighted Lamar Miller on today's Footballers episode saying I don't want to play him because he's a volume play. he's clearly banged up. I know he was active. He was in the emergency role. Alfred Blue was the workhorse, but 20 for 46. That's pretty gross. He saved his day through the air, and that's what it will have to take for Lamar Miller. And I like Kiki a lot this week because of the matchup for DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just very concerned about Lamar Miller. If you look back, the guys who are actually getting it done in the past 3 or 4 games against Buffalo's run defense is the quick twitch guys that actually have bursts, like Aaron Jones. I mean, he ripped off a big run. Other than that, they're keeping running backs in check, at least in my opinion. So I'm not really stoked to play Lamar Miller. And if you didn't get there from my explanation of quick twitch guys are getting it done, I'm not including Lamar Miller in that category.
Well, really, guys, what's the difference between Lamar Miller and Frank Gore at this point? They're both getting about 10, 12 touches a game.
Lamar Miller has more wrinkles because Frank Gore is infinite.
I can't start Lamar Miller even against Buffalo. I'm with you, Mike, on this one. I've got him at my RB 33, so I guess you could. But, I mean, I'd rather play even Royce Freeman against the Rams, and I don't think that's a good start either. So,
speaking of Frank Gore, let's talk about his teammate, Kenyon Drake. He's going against the Bears. Like, Mike, are you down with starting Kenyon Drake in a flex spot? Do you think that this receiving usage that he saw last week is going to hold up?
Kenyon Drake, it's so frustrating, man.
Mm-hmm.
Super duper frustrating. And no, I don't think 11 targets is going to hold up. You would hope it would. The Miami Dolphins would be better off their offense if they made sure that Kenyon Drake was getting at least 7 or 8 targets per game. But this is the first time he's been over 4 targets on the season. So I'm not buying it. As a flex, I'm okay with that because the way I play fantasy is that means that my other positions are secure, safer plays. And Kenyon Drake, we know he has the nitro button built in, but I'm not buying it. If someone else in my league wants to buy the crap that they are shoveling in Miami and Adam Gase is the worst, then I would happily sell Kenyon Drake off.
I'd play him against like the Giants or the Bills, but I'm not playing him against the Bears. I've got him RB 37 this week, Tags.
I have him at 39, and the thing is like some people will think like, oh, the Bears pass rush, you'd think that they'll check down, right? Think about this, right? When a quarterback drops back, he looks through his wide receiver options the majority of the time, and then he'll check down to the running back if he doesn't see anything that he likes. Quarterbacks don't have that time against the Bears, like legitimately. And on top of that, Ryan Tannehill might be without Laramie Tunsil, his starting left tackle this week, and that is just like if he's without Tunsil, like seriously, the Bears are going to have a free-for-all. The Bears defense should light them up, and I don't know if Kenyon Drake or Frank Gore is going to be in there to pass protect, but at the same time, they need more blockers there. I don't see them running many routes. They should use the screen game a lot more than they do, but we haven't seen it, so it's tough to say it. And by the way, though, Kenyon Drake, I'm a fan of Drake's talent, but he's looked kind of sluggish, and he looks bigger than he did last year. Like, he just doesn't.
You're right. He's not the same player.
He just looks like I don't know if he gained weight anticipating a workhorse role or something like that, but he looks a little bit more sluggish to me. Have you seen the same thing, Mike?
I think when he gets space, I think he's actually making things happen. So it's negligible to me.
So who are some guys you have ranked ahead of Drake that a lot of people wouldn't think to play? Like, would you play Wendell Smallwood, Tariq Cohen, maybe even Ronald Jones or Peyton Barber?
Yeah. Ronald Jones, I think, is a start. But I want to hear Dirk Cutter come out and say that Ronald Jones is going to start. I have a feeling that we might see that Peyton Barber's inactive. Like, if that's what I would prefer to see, because that would make me feel so much more confident. Because you want to start running backs against the Falcons, like you really, really, really do. They've allowed 4 running backs.
You want to start pass-catching running backs against the Falcons.
I mean, is Jaquiz Rodgers really going to be a thing? I think he can be in PPR formats. Like, if you're in, like, a pinch and you need someone to just, like, that's on the waiver wire right now, you can grab Jaquiz Rodgers, and he's going to give you a floor. That's for sure.
I have to play him in one league. I'm not happy about it, but I have to.
Remember when Jay Ajayi scored the 2 touchdowns against them in week 1? And everybody's, like, running those victory routes on Jay Ajayi? Well, since that time, here's the starting running backs and what they've scored against the Falcons. 25.6 for Giovanni Bernard, 34.5 for James Conner, 27.9 PPR points for Christian McCaffrey, 34 points for Alvin Kamara. Like, good God, man, they are just terrible, like legit terrible in every facet of the game on defense right now. I want Peyton Barber to be inactive so I can feel good about starting Ronald Jones because I really, really want to.
I've got Jones RB35. I've got Corey Clement RB31 right now against the Giants. Deion Lewis I've got up there even against Baltimore. I would play him. Nyheim Hines as a start against the Jets. Mike, anyone you want to mention before we go to wide receivers?
No, let's move it over to wide receivers.
Cool, let's do it. All right, so this Jacksonville pass offense has been it's been a roller coaster ride for sure, but they've got these 3 wide receivers who are all getting the same amount of targets. I don't think you can start Keelan Cole anymore. Most people are. ECR has him at 34. I've got him outside my top 40 tags. Where do you have them?
I have Keelan Cole right now at wide receiver 41, and I don't feel great about it, to be honest with you.
I mean, that's like a flex play, and yeah, I mean, I guess you could flex him, but I don't want to play him or Dede or Moncrief any week.
Well, the reason I don't want to play him necessarily is because Byron Jones is going to be in coverage.
I was going to say it's Byron, right? You expect him to be on Keelan.
Yeah, like he's the one, in terms of where these players typically line up, like they do move Cole around the formation quite a bit, but he's going to see the most Byron Jones, and Byron Jones has been fantastic on 22 targets.
Isn't he the underwear model too?
I don't know.
Is that Byron Jones?
I don't.
That was me. I get confused for Byron Jones a lot. It's the physique.
But one of the you know what? One of the craziest things I found out when doing the research for the primer this week is that I was looking at the average depth of target for each of the wide receivers in the Jacksonville offense, and you guys would be probably shocked to know Dante Moncrief is like his average depth of target is 14.7 yards down the field, whereas Keelan Cole is at 9.3 and Dede Westbrook's at 6.9. I feel like these are all like reversed. Like they should be reversed. Like Dante Moncrief, a downfield option. That's not really who he is. He saw 15 targets last week. I think Dede Westbrook actually has the best matchup this week for them. He's going to see Anthony Brown in the slot, who was burned in coverage by Kiki QT over and over last week. And then we saw Golden Tate the week before that, putting up 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. I didn't like Westbrook last week. We talked about that quite a bit, but I think Westbrook actually might be the best play on their team this week.
Tags, I feel like every single week you've got like 2 or 3 guys that, you know, have bad matchups, and so you just don't want to play them, like Quincy Enunwa last week. Is there someone like that stands out to you this week?
There's someone that stands out to me that I don't want to play. I don't want to play Corey Davis.
Man.
Corey Davis, like he's a stud. I love Corey Davis, a talent, but
is he? This is just a philosophical, because I'm not disagreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
I want Corey Davis to be a thing.
Yep.
I loved him coming out in the draft. Like I was all aboard with what Corey Davis was.
Mm-hmm.
But is he a stud if he keeps getting into these matchups and we go, nah, I'd rather not play him?
That's a good point.
That's the complete opposite of a stud.
Like Brandon Marshall back in the day, you would never say, I'm not playing Brandon Marshall.
Right, because he was a stud. If he was a player who can take advantage of a really good matchup, can you really be a stud?
But he also had competent quarterback play. So the reason with Corey Davis, the reason that I'm always hesitant to play him is because not only is the situation bad this week against the Ravens, like the Ravens, their secondary is probably one of the best in the NFL. Obviously adding Jimmy Smith back, they're easing him back into action. They need to get Tavon Young out of the slot because he's like what's holding the defense back. But Corey Davis is playing with Marcus Mariota, who's been like legitimately bad. Like, I think over his last 20 games, I think he has 19 interceptions and like 16 touchdowns.
You watch him play, and I don't think he's going to be a starter next year. I think he loses his job.
I think they've invested too much for him to get benched, like maybe next year, but I do not think he's the solution at quarterback, and he's not competent. Like, he's all over the place. Like, he doesn't have any anticipation. Corey Davis is a possession-style receiver where you get the targets to him, but get the ball in his hands. Like, once you get the ball in his hands, Corey Davis is dangerous after the catch, and he does remind me of Brandon Marshall, but he doesn't have competent quarterback play. This is a run-heavy team that is not running many plays. But the Ravens have held Antonio Brown to 5 catches, 62 yards. He had a touchdown. But Jarvis Landry, 5 catches, 69 yards. No touchdown. Demaryius Thomas, 5 catches, 63 yards. No touchdown. The Titans only had Corey Davis in the slot 24% of the time over the first 4 weeks. We saw that uptick in week 5. So I'm hoping they're learning that they need to move him away from these top-tier cornerbacks. And if they get him matched up with Tavon Young in the slot, he can do some work there. But man, I am not excited if I have Corey Davis and I have to play him this week.
Mike, what do we do with Amari Cooper? He's got 2 points, 1 point in between 2 big games. But, I mean, is this someone we can trust against the Seahawks defense?
You drop Amari Cooper to the waiver wire, and you...
Oh, stop it.
You do. Look, there's these players on the footballers, we call them landmine players, where, look, I won't lie. If someone dropped Amari Cooper and I saw him on the waiver wire, I go, oh, I got to pick up Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
And then he would just destroy me because this is what he does. I'm like, Tags, you really still like Amari Cooper?
I'm starting him every single week, regardless of the matchup. I'm with you, Tags.
So here's the thing. With Amari Cooper, like, who do you have in the range of the wide receiver 30 range who is an every week performer? Because I can't find him. Like Doug Baldwin, we're talking about Devin Funchess. Lockett has been good, but like over the course of his career, he hasn't. Corey Davis, Demaryius Thomas.
I was going to say Quincy Nunwa, but last week, no.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're talking about players in this range, and it's like, okay, these guys are not every week performers, and none of them offer the ceiling that Amari Cooper does when he actually gets targets. Like, I understand the frustration with him. I really do. And I'm frustrated too. And that's why I'm not ranking Amari Cooper as a top 20 receiver anymore, because there's just too much risk in doing that. But I'm not going to play someone like Devin Funchess over Amari Cooper.
Here's your answer, Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's done it all 5 weeks.
That's why I said I know he's done it this year on a small sample size.
But like, I had to search really hard to find someone.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper's ceiling is like a skylight, except you're living in a house that has a 3-foot ceiling. So there's a tiny little portion of it where you can actually stand up and stretch out, but the rest of it, you're flat on your back and you cannot move. If we're talking about, are you saying guys in the 30s that are like on the season?
Well, I mean, looking at even wide receivers this week, like talking about those players, there's none of those guys like I would rather start over him. Like, are you going to start Josh Gordon over him? Like, Josh Gordon has played 18 snaps each of the last 2 games. Like, I want
Kansas City, man. I'm starting like 5 receivers from the Patriots.
So I'm saying I want to like him, but how much can we really like Josh Gordon when he's played 18 snaps? Like, that's the thing. Like, Nelson Aguilar has been terrible.
He's got 6 targets in those 18 snaps, though.
I was going to say Geronimo was the name. I will play Geronimo Allison over Amari Cooper 100%.
Yeah, if he's healthy. I agree with that.
But we don't know if he's healthy, though.
Of course, yeah, but we're just projecting that he is healthy.
I'm just projecting that Amari Cooper is going to get targets because then he'll perform.
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's an ideal world, Bobby.
I mean, it's insane. Your top wide receiver, 1 target.
It's stupid.
Can you imagine any other alleged stud top wide receiver in the NFL getting 1 target?
Can you imagine any other team hiring John Gruden?
No.
10 years, baby.
Yeah, 100 million. But seriously, like, the thing is like everybody and their grandmother wants to tell me I'm wrong on Amari Cooper. How about you go and look at the games where guys like Keenan Allen, how about when he sees fewer than 7 targets? Go look at his career totals. Like, the thing is like stud wide, like Antonio Brown, if he's not getting like the higher targets.
Why is he not getting those targets, though?
That's the point, is he creates the opportunity. He gets the targets.
That's a bunch of crap. He has a quarterback that's willing to throw it to him. Derek Carr is just not that guy. And if you look over the course of Cooper's career, it's been so up and down target-wise. It has nothing to do with his talent. I promise you. And even Gruden said that when he came there. He's like, if Amari Cooper can't get it done this offense, nobody's going to. Like, that's basically how he felt about it, because he knows Amari Cooper is uber talented, and now he's frustrated.
I mean, he's the top 15 talented wide receiver in the NFL, right?
I have him as a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL talent-wise. I kid you not. I watch so much football.
Imagine him in Green Bay's offense instead of Devontae Adams. You flip them.
That's what I'm saying. All I'm going to say is, like, if you put him in Antonio Brown's situation with Ben Roethlisberger, somebody that's willing to target his number 1 receiver, Amari Cooper would be a stud in fantasy football. And that's the thing. He's not there, so we can't do that. So I have him as my number 29 wide receiver this week because I just don't believe in Derek Carr. I don't believe that he's going to target Amari Cooper on any given week. So I'm frustrated just like you guys, but I'm also holding out hope that Amari Cooper this year is like the last straw for him. It seems like the Raiders are going to get they're going to pick up the option for next year if they haven't already.
They should just fold, man. The entire franchise. Give St. Louis a franchise. Get rid of the Raiders.
Can we do?
Hey, Marshawn Lynch has been good. I mean, last week was not good, but Marshawn Lynch has been good.
This is great.
Someone mentioned Josh Gordon. You guys aren't playing him, are you?
I have him as wide receiver 36.
Okay.
I have, in my league of record, I am being forced into playing Josh Gordon. It's really more a product of my entire bench is on bye this week. But because I'm playing him, it's a great decision to play Josh Gordon.
I've got him wide receiver 42, so, like, yeah, he's probably a flex play for me. I just, those 18 snaps you mentioned, I'd rather play someone like Michael Crabtree against Tennessee, who's still leading the Ravens in targets.
Derek Carr didn't have a problem targeting that guy.
Yeah, you're right.
Mohamed
Sanu, I would.
Amari Cooper stinks! Yeah!
Love you, buddy.
Chris Godwin and Mohamed Sanu, would you start them, Tags? They both got killer matchups.
Mohamed Sanu's an absolute must start. You play him. He's going to be matched up with rookie cornerback MJ Stewart in the slot. That's a great matchup. By the way, also bold prediction, Julio Jones scores a touchdown this week.
Ooh, that is bold.
He has scored, I think it's 6 touchdowns in 10 career games against the Bucs. Like, he doesn't score against anybody else. It might be 8 touchdowns. As for Godwin, it's kind of like, I don't have an issue. I have him at wide receiver 44 right now, but he's 4th in snaps on the team at wide receiver. So I don't know. The thing is, we believe that coaches are going to be logical and like, hey, let's use the bye week to incorporate Godwin more in the offense because he's obviously much better than Adam Humphries, but we can't assume that, right? So I mean, he's a fine bye week option. He's a fine like emergency option, but I don't think he's like a must start or anything.
I love Chris Godwin so much, man. This is like my Amari Cooper, but you know.
Well, Godwin's actually good.
Oh, shut up.
So I'm with you.
Godwin is so good, man.
I'm hanging up my invisible phone that I have in front of me.
But here's the problem with Chris Godwin. You want to talk about Derek Carr is the problem for Cooper. Jameis Winston could be a huge problem for Chris Godwin. We've seen him he loves himself some tight ends. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, he loves wide receivers. I think that had a lot to do with the breakout of Chris Godwin. And you're right about Humphries. I think Humphries played more snaps than him 2 weeks ago. I don't know what they're doing with that. But I think Sanu is a guy you play. Chris Godwin, I'm just going to hold on to him. I don't want to start him this week. I want to see if he actually can do something with Jameis.
Tags, from this point until the end of the season, would you take anybody over Jameis Winston in terms of passing yards? I think I'd put Winston number 1, man.
I think Matt Ryan would probably be my number 1.
Okay. Yeah, because their defense. Well, the Bucs defense is so bad, too.
It's close, though. It's close for sure. I could see it being Jameis for sure.
Yeah, this game, what's the over-under, like 90?
On the Falcons-Bucks? I think that one's actually like 57.5, which is lower than the Patriots-Chiefs game, which is at 59.5.
What? They must know something. Because I would think this would be the highest over-under of the season.
What, 57's not good enough for you?
I'm taking the over there.
57's great.
Whenever I see a line like this that just doesn't make any sense, my instinct is just like, stay away from it. There's got to be something here that I don't know, but yeah.
Well, it was 57.5 on the Steelers-Falcons last week, so that was high. And obviously, so I got in on that before it went to 58, and then 58 pushed. Looking at the Kansas City-New England game, and this is not a sit-start question, this is just entertainment for me. Would you guys say over or under if you were forced to bet? Like, I'm not even able to bet, but 59.5 over under in Kansas City, New England. What would you take if you were forced to bet that game? Like you were forced to bet, let's say you were forced to bet $1,000 on it.
Under with confidence.
Under.
Nice.
I would take it too.
All right. Someone mentioned Kiki QT and that you like. Actually, I think both of you like him because Tre'Davious White's not going to be on him. I love QT, but I mean, is he actually going to be a useful number 3 wide receiver?
I believe that he will. I think that he's shown me enough talent-wise, and I don't know if Watson can force feed Hopkins with that coverage that he's going to receive. So I do think that the reason why Tags likes Lamar Miller, I think that those targets go to Kiki.
Yeah, I have no issue playing QT this week.
Yeah, I think he's better than Will Fuller, and I know that's going to sound like a bold take, but
get it. Will Fuller is good, man.
Will Fuller is good, but I think QT is the more complete receiver. He just looks good.
Amari Cooper is better than both of them, so you can both shut up.
On what statistic?
On I watch football tape statistic.
Oh, the film guy's coming in.
I am not pulling out the film card because I never do that. But seriously, Amari Cooper,
you just did.
He's just too good not to.
Okay, guys, we're going to go lightning round for the rest of the wide receivers. Then we'll move on over to tight end really quick. Quincy Enunwa faced the Colts.
Boo.
You're not playing him?
Boo.
I can't like Quincy Enunwa a lot with the way that they're using him. They moved him out of the slot to put Jermaine Kearse there.
The way they're using him, he's got like 80,000 targets already.
No, he's right about the positioning.
I'm talking about like recently because Jermaine Kearse is back in the lineup and it's kicked him outside, and that's not where he's good. Like that's the thing. It's just
they did that to avoid Harris Jr., man. He's getting right back in the slot this week.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, and that's why I have an Enunwa at 42. Like, I'm not completely giving up on him or anything, but
he's got like a 29% target share. You play the guy against the Colts.
I would rather play Robbie Anderson this week.
I almost didn't even ask about Quincy Enunwa because I thought it was such a lock to start. Wow, Tags.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I've got Anderson as a start as well. Well, kind of in the flex. I've got him as wide receiver 43. Mike, where do you have Robbie Anderson?
I would start Quincy
over Robbie.
Yeah,
over Robbie.
Smart man.
It's Well, yes.
You guys just make out off the air.
The question for me is it's Sam Darnold. Was that the breakout where Darnold learned that his average depth of target should be more than 4 yards?
Yeah.
Or is he just go right back to that? So I lean that we've seen far more of the Quincy type of games for Sam Darnold. I'm hoping it's Robbie, but if I had to pick between the two, I would go with Quincy.
Let's go 3 more here, guys. Mike Williams at Cleveland. Start or sit?
Start.
Borderline.
Yeah, I've got him borderline too. Wide receiver 45. Larry Fitzgerald at Minnesota.
Sit.
Sit.
I get that Minnesota's been giving up.
That one's not a bad matchup. Like, I don't feel bad.
Yeah, the matchup is not bad against anyone who's an offense that is not being run by Mike McCoy.
Yeah, like I don't think that's a bad matchup at all. But the thing is, I'm still worried that Fitz isn't 100%. I still think he's playing.
He is not.
Yeah. So I mean, trust Mike. He's obviously from Arizona. He knows that team better than anybody. So if he's saying sit, I guess I'll go with him on that one.
I'm sit as well. Chris Hogan faced Kansas City.
Waiver wire.
Yeah, I mean it's really tough to disagree, but however, he is still the wide receiver on the Patriots who's playing the most snaps. Like, he played more than anybody else last week, so they haven't given up on him in a game that's got an over-under of 59.5. I don't think he's like the worst play. I have him in like wide receiver 4 territory. I mean, obviously there's cause for concern. He's only targeted 4 times last week, and the one pass that did go incomplete was a drop on his part, and it turned into an interception. So that's worrisome for sure, but he is still playing a lot of snaps in a high-scoring game, so I don't think like he's like a must-avoid or anything.
Here's his game log. 11 yards, 42, 31, 25, 34. I would drop him. I would try to trade him first, but I would drop him. I said 3 more, but I've actually got 1 more that I want to mention because I'm starting Ryan Grant against the Jets.
If T.Y. is out, you like Ryan Grant over Chester?
Yeah, I mean, I like them both fine, but if Andrew Luck's going to throw 780 passes this season, yeah, I like Ryan Grant.
They're both high floor options. Like, the Jets are without Trumaine Johnson. They're going to be without him again this week. Buster Screen is bad, and I don't even know if he's playing this week. They might have to go to Perry Nickerson.
That's a name.
It's ugly, man. Like, that defense is struggling. So, I mean, I think both can be played as high floor PPR options.
All right, guys, on over to tight end. Obviously, you play guys like Jimmy Graham, George Kittle, Jordan Reed. But what about Jared Cook, who had a really bad game in his first matchup that wasn't just absolute gold? Do you play him against the Seahawks, Tags?
Wait, hold on.
Go ahead, Mike.
Jordan Reed is an absolute play, but Cook is not, and Jordan Reed had coming off a stinker too.
Yeah, but Jordan Reed's really good at football. Jared Cook's been a turd for a long time.
Yes.
Now we get to the problem.
Thank God you guys argue, because I can't argue with you guys all show.
Tags, where are you on the... Wait, do you think Jared Cook is good, Mike?
No.
Okay.
he backs all that up and says, no, he's not good.
Well, I thought it was funny that Jordan Reed, I mean, they're both coming off of bad games.
Jordan Reed had 1 catch coming off the bye.
Jordan Reed's actually interesting. I'm like, what is happening? Coming off of a bye week for Washington, and the dude was not... Did he play his normal assortment of snaps? I feel like I did not see Jordan Reed on the field. Like, every 3 snaps, like, oh, there's Jordan Reed.
I feel like I didn't see Alex Smith on the field. Who was that quarterback?
That was...
I mean, I guess he did. He played 63% of the time. So that was just, it was really weird. I thought something was going on with the floppy toes.
Probably.
The floppy toes.
I mean, Jared Cook is 1 bad game. Derek Carr, he's targeting his receivers who are better than Amari Cooper. That is Jared Cook.
I don't like Jared Cook. I don't want to play him. Let's see. I don't
want to play any tight ends, but if
I would play him against the Chiefs in week 13, the Steelers in week 14, Denver in week 16. Besides that, I don't want to play Jared Cook.
Jared Cook I have as my tight end 10 this week. So, I mean, like, he's like, tight end's ugly. I don't want to start him if I can help it, but it's very unlikely you have an option that's like head and shoulders above him. But know this, Bradley McDougald has been covering the tight ends for the Seahawks, and he's done a phenomenal job. He hasn't allowed a single tight end over 52 yards this year. Now, granted, only 1.
I'll take 52 yards for my tight end.
Well, I mean, that was Ricky Seals-Jones, who had like 1 big catch against them. But outside of that, like 47 yards to Jeff Swaim. Trey Burton had 20 yards. Like, he's done... I mean, they haven't played like next level competition. I don't think Jared Cook is that. Like, Jared Cook, we have a history of Jared Cook to go off of, and to say that, like, we know he's not a great tight end. Like, he's going to have games here and there. His athletic ability will show, but I think McDougald is really good. I would rather start Cameron Brate this week.
Oh, 100%. But when you say you're not playing Jared Cook, you're looking then at the waiver wire. So you're looking at guys like Swaim, Nick Vannett, Charles Clay,
Austin Hooper.
Hooper's. I think I might start Hooper over Cook.
I would play. Yeah, I might as well. It's pretty close. And then CJ Uzomah. I mean, that would be your options over Jared Cook. That's why tight end is a wasteland, and you're still probably playing Jared
I'd
Cook.
even play Greg Olsen.
Oh, no, don't do that.
Because worst case scenario, he plays like 8 snaps and gets a 0, and he's like 2 points behind Jared Cook, but you've actually got upside with Greg Olsen this week.
You have a built-in excuse with Greg Olsen. He was coming off injury.
Yeah, that's a good. I like having those built-in excuses. Guys, I'm looking at the top 11. I've got Ebron in there with Doyle probably out again. Burton against Miami. Cameron Brate's, he's top 6 for me. Kyle Rudolph, David Njoku. Do you guys have any of these guys outside the top 12?
Njoku.
No.
Njoku, okay.
Oh, Njoku, really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're wrong, but why?
Who do you have in at 12?
So at 12, I have Kyle Rudolph.
So who's your guy in the top 12 that we don't have?
Austin Hooper, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Jared Cook, who I don't have in the top 12. Okay, so you've got both those two guys in there.
No, my concern with Njoku is the way that they're using him on offense. Like, they're not putting him in the slot. I was looking deeper into this to, like, see why he hasn't been, he hasn't scored a touchdown yet, which is weird because David Njoku is, like, one of the most athletic tight ends, and, like, you figure he's going to. And I think he's going to at some point, but he's only run 16% of his routes from the slot. That ranks 81st among tight ends. Like, that's stupid. Like, that's just bad play calling. I don't know if they're just keeping him in to block a lot more.
Well, they got rid of all their wide receivers. They need another wide receiver, man, and Njoku's the answer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They need to line him up more in the slot. That's what I'm saying. But the thing is like the Chargers have done a phenomenal job with tight ends over the years, and this year has been really no different. George Kittle, I know he had a big game, 125 yards and a touchdown, but I think it was 82 yards. And that touchdown came on one play where it was a run after the catch. Not to say Njoku can't do that, but there's a lot of tight ends who can catch a touchdown. So I have him just outside the top 12.
If you're one of these guys who trades a lot, I would go get David Njoku right now, even if you're not going to play him this week, because I've got him right there at number 11, too, for my tight ends. But the next 4 weeks, he gets the Bucks, the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Falcons. Oh, man. And then you can sell him after that because you don't want to play him after that, really. I mean, he's going to be a top 12 tight end, but after that, his stock is going to be so high.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Njoku, like in my primer, it says if you don't have him right now, like trade for him.
Yep. All right. If you're desperate, give me one tight end, Tags.
If you're desperate, CJ Uzomah.
Yeah, that's my call as well.
I'm going Nick Vannett.
Or Antonio Gates.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for like a touchdown, he's very, very low upside, but he could catch a touchdown against Cleveland.
Yep. All right, guys. DST streamers this week are horrible. We're going to move kind of quick here. Tex, do you have one streamer that you like above the rest of the pack, or are they just all kind of a crapshoot?
The Jets, I guess. I mean, Andrew Luck's going to get sacked. I mean, it seems like Matt Slauson almost died last week, like legitimately. Like he played through, they said that he broke something in his back. They said in the third quarter, and then he played through it. And he basically the doctor said like one more hit could have like actually paralyzed him from the waist down.
Hey.
Wow.
That's worrisome, man. Like that tells me he's probably not playing, which means they're out.
Probably not playing, man.
Their left and right tackles are out. Now their right guard is out. Like that offensive line is falling apart. The Jets do have somewhat of a good pass rush. Their defense isn't terrible. It sucks that they're without Trumaine Johnson. But like I said, you're looking for a high floor with a streamer. They're going to get some sacks. Andrew Luck's, he's typically throwing a couple picks. So I'll take the Jets.
What about Dallas?
Dallas, yeah. They're my number 2. I've got Green Bay number 1 against the 49ers, but
oh, yeah, for sure.
Dallas against the Jags, that's a great streamer. Tags, anyone else that you like even a little bit?
Not really.
Tennessee against Baltimore? You willing to go in on that?
I'll play Tennessee almost any week. Yeah, I'll take him against Baltimore.
Not bad. Not bad.
If Joe Flacco's going to throw 55 passes again, which he's going to because that's what the Ravens do apparently.
Dallas, you guys mentioned Dallas. I just want to go back to that just because something just popped across my screen that Andrew Norwell might be out for the Jags, which means they'd be out down to their third string left tackle, down Norwell off the offensive line. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys, that pass rush is pretty nasty. So, DeMarcus Lawrence, like, seriously, just pin your ears back and get after Blake Bortles.
Is anybody going to stay healthy for the Jags this year?
Maybe not.
Oh, man, it is ugly. It's frustrating. Okay, guys, that's all for today's show. Mike, as always, it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
No worries, guys. I'll see you next time.
Woo.
And thanks to the sponsors of today's show, Lisa Mattresses, where you can get $160 off your mattress order by going to lisa.com/fantasypros. That's LEESA.com/fantasypros. And FanDuel, where you can play DFS every single weekend with a new slate. I'm playing the Thursday Million contest where you pick 5 players. One of them is your MVP that gets 1.5 points. It's a lot of strategy, lots of fun. FanDuel.com. For Mike Tagliere, I'm Bobby Sylvester. Thanks for listening, Enjoy your football.
I just wanted you to watch me dissolve.